like you said, the possessions that we hang on to, it's just boxes. It's boxes of things. I was going through some stuff the other day in the garage, and I found a box that I've actually moved out here from Atlanta that I hadn't opened yet. And it's like,
in how many years?
It's 16. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this. It's still here. And, you never used it. It's just been sitting there, and it's free.
Was that your size 32 pants?
Oh, yeah. and they were bell bottoms, and I had the French cuff shirts in there. Yeah, that's it.
Live your life with purpose, change someone's life for the better, and leave a lasting impact on those around you. Welcome to Finish Strong, the podcast designed to help you discover your unique purpose and develop a plan to leave a powerful legacy. In this episode, Dan, Brian, and Terry, and myself talk about handling life's changes. Here's Dan, so let's get started.
Do you ever think the only thing that's constant in life is change? It seems to be the only thing you can count on. Changes come in the blink of an eye. They catch us off guard. They cause uncertainty, stress, and a whirlwind of emotions. So how do we handle them? And is there any way to prepare for them? That's our topic today on Finish Strong, Handling Life's Changes. I'm joined by three other guys who are all going through life changes, as am I, so this is a very appropriate topic. Terry Steen, Brian Rowland, and even our producer, John Matarazzo, is going through change. So, Terry, I'm going to start with you. The bigger the change, the more stress, it seems.
Oh, isn't that the truth? And my wife and I just began that change a few months ago when we sold a home after 30 years and made a move to downsize. And man, when you go through all that and when you kind of just change your whole lifestyle, it's what we did. It can be pretty traumatic. And I can't imagine someone that doesn't have the Lord in their life to fall back on, someone that doesn't have the Word of God or be able to trust and have faith in Him to be able to deal with change, to kind of keep that stress level down,
Yeah, so you just moved and you're adapting to a new situation. Brian, you're in the midst of a big change, moving from the West Coast to the East Coast, right?
Yeah, it's a big move for us. We've been out here 16 years now, and packing everything up and going back to the East Coast to be where you guys are at. And it's change, and for us, especially because we were talking earlier, getting older is not easy to move as it used to be, and we're just going through things, getting rid of the past, getting rid of a lot of the things that don't need anymore. That is really great. It's been wonderful to do that. A lot of work, but it's nice going through it and saying, okay, we're going forward to something brand new.
And B, by the way, we are happy to have you out on the East Coast. That's going to be so nice to be in the same time zone, close enough that you and I can actually drive and have a meal together. That's exciting.
That's right. And you could teach me a few tips to play golf.
Yeah.
Like don't talk on my backstroke.
Yeah,
I'm not sure you want to learn from me, but I'll be happy to help if I can.
Best advice, don't play it. You'll be less frustrated. Hey, John Matarazzo, even you are going through change.
Yes, I am. I've accepted a job in Florida, and I'll be moving I'll be moving from Pittsburgh to Orlando, Florida, to work with another company there that I'm really excited about. It's a great opportunity, but as you guys are talking about, it's difficult to move from one place to another. I'm not just moving down the street or to the other side of the city. It's several states.
Yeah, guys, my daughter is getting married. One daughter next week, and then the week after, my other daughter, who's married, has my three precious grandkids who I adore. They're moving to South Dakota, and wow. I'm sitting here thinking, I'm not going to stay in this big house, so I'm going to be going through the change too. But Terry, I think part of the fear of change and what causes a lot of worry is we just don't know what's going to be like, right?
Exactly.
Fear of the unknown.
Exactly. And that's where we come into the importance of having trust and faith in God. And, we've all, if we've been Christians for any length of time, we know what Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, and in all your ways acknowledge Him, and he'll make your path straight. And so for me, one of the biggest things that I think is critical in being able to deal with the change that we're all trying to deal with is to work on that trust and faith up front before the change even happens in our life. And if we can get that in our heads, the importance of trusting God and knowing He has the best plan for our life, He has the perfect path for us to take, then when that change comes, hopefully we'll be a little better prepared to deal with it.
Well, I think with my situation and all of our situations, when it involves a move or a change of relationships, new lifestyle, Genesis 28:15, God says, I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go. So wherever we're going, guys, He's already there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
It's true that he's there with us. He's there to provide strength and comfort for us, because not all change is just moving from place to place. There's so many other things that could be bigger changes that would cause more anxiety and fear, and a lot of that would be divorce or job change, financial losses. I mean, out of all those, plus moving, I've gone through them all. And I can tell you that the fear can set in when a lot of things are unknown. But as you just said, T, it's great because when you're in the Word and you have God with you and you know that He is guiding you, He guides our steps. We don't have to fear as we go through it. I was thinking about a couple different things in my life. One which I didn't share with you guys the other day, but when I was 14, my mom had bleeding ulcers, and they rushed her into the hospital. Her blood pressure was 35/28, and
Wow.
they had to put, I don't know how many pints of blood into her, 9 pints of blood they kept putting in, and because she kept losing it. But I remember coming home from wrestling practice, and my dad was there. And I remember him sitting at the table, just had his Bible open. He was praying, and he looked at me with tears in his eyes, and he goes, I don't know what I'll do. If she's gone, I don't know what I'll do. And I looked at him, and I'm thinking, well, we're going to be okay. Mom's going to be okay. But that back of my head's going, what are we going to do? I mean, I was only 14, but yet I wasn't sure what we were going to do. And I think in my dad's case, it was that my mom led him to the Lord, and she was his spiritual counselor, basically. And he just he didn't know what he was going to do next about that, because he was working nights at the time too, because he'd had a heart attack and had to work overnights, and then he had me at home, and my sister was just off to college. So there was a change there. There was some fear and anxiety because you weren't sure what was going to be happening. And then later on in life, I got the same thing when I had a heart attack. I was only 41 and had a heart attack, and boy, talk about putting perspective in your life. I mean, and the thing about it was I wasn't really fearful of it because I knew I was supposed to be where I was supposed to be, but I let it get to me. I raised the stress level in my life where I didn't need to do that. And so that was back on me because I failed to fall back on the comfort of God and let Him take it over. And like I always say, let Him do the heavy lifting. He's got the big shoulders, let Him do the heavy lifting. But there's so many different things that happen in change that bring on more anxiety and fear that we can learn to deal with once we're in the Word.
Well, I went through a huge change, when Beth passed away, and during her whole battle, I just never let my mind go there. But, the afternoon she died, I was thinking, wow, what do I do now? And then you go into kind of a fog, and then you guys were there, and then we formed Fearless Faith, and it, I knew I had to have a purpose and a reason to go on. And that verse, Isaiah 26:3, I will keep that man in perfect peace whose mind is steadfast on me. So we have to keep our mind on God through those difficult times. I think that's the footing we need when we feel like the earth's shaking with all these changes. But, those verses got me through, and I just knew that, God was going to be with me. I knew that Beth was home. I knew where she was. She was with God, and knew that, God was going to give me some sense of purpose. And obviously Fearless Faith has given me a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, another thing I just thought about was we have to build on the past. There's some things that we forget in the past, but in this case, when we think back to some of the change, when I think back to my first year of marriage, where after a year, I took my wife away from her family. We were living around her family and took her North Carolina, where neither one of us knew anybody, and began a new life in essence for a different job. That was a tough few months, but in the long run, it was great for us and it was a great job. When the time came 12 years later to make another move, every move has been a positive move. And so if we can think about the past, think about the change that went for better, then that what kind of prepares us mentally, I guess, that, hey, I'm sure this is going to be good. God's got it. It's just we let our flesh get in the way, don't we?
Yeah, we do. I remember when I left QVC, the guy wrote an article, and I told him I was just enjoying my final time at QVC and kind of looking around and taking in the environment. And the title of the article was Looking Back Before Moving On. And it is good to do that. It does give you strength and courage to make it through. But, during times of change, I think we'd all agree it's more important than ever to lean into the Lord. And a verse that I always come back to is Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear. I'm going to read from the New International Version. For I'm with you. Do not fear. Do not be dismayed, for I'm your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And there's many other verses that really talk about handling change and what our attitude should be.
Yeah, no question. Now, I was just going to say, sometimes when we are dealing with money, dealing with possessions, many times change involves that. Many times change, it could be a loss of job where we're fearful. And I always come back to that, the Luke, the 12th chapter, where it says that God said to him, you fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you prepared for yourself? And he was admonishing them. He said, therefore, don't worry about your life, what you'll eat, and about your body and what you'll wear. Who of you by worrying can add a single hour to your life? And it goes on. And if we would just get a grasp on that, the importance of not worrying and that God will take care of our finances, that's just one piece of a lot of change sometimes that could give us the peace we need.
Tia, that's, just to go along with what you're saying, I was thinking of the verse Isaiah 43:19, because when we're going into something new, we got to remember that it says, see, I am doing a new thing. And now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. So God is preparing our steps. He's preparing where we're going. He's working behind the scenes and working things out for us so that we can walk through. When that door's open, we can go through it and we can start something new.
Yeah.
There's so many verses that talk about, he's already there. Psalm 139, 7 through 10. If you get a chance, read that. It's like, we can't get away from God. He's there wherever we go. And in whatever situation, we've been talking a lot about moving, but there's so many other things that can give us fear. I think just the state of the world right now, the state of America, what's going on, a lot of people are very fearful. John, you're a young man. I mean, you're 35. Does it sometimes bother you wishing that you knew you could count on another 35, 40 years of life being normal? Because life is anything but normal now.
That is very true, Dan. Life is anything but normal right now. I mean, we're currently I'm in a state where people wear masks all the time, and you can't really go anywhere without them. And I long for the days when things are going to be normal again. And I totally understand what you're talking about. I do struggle with fear sometimes, thinking that, oh man, the life that I thought that I was going to have might not actually be reality. And I trust in the Lord, but there is definitely times where I need to rely on his word and lean on him, not my own understanding, because it's just overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah, I think we all have to apply these verses to the world today. Isaiah 43:18 and 19. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I'm doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? While it can be scary, guys, I feel like, this is an exciting time to be alive. For whatever reason, God has us alive at a time such as this. We don't know how bad things will get before the Lord's coming, but I've never quite seen it like this.
Yeah, and there's no better example than the children of Israel when they were leaving Egypt. You talk about change, you talk about potential fear. They didn't know where they were going. But in Exodus 13, I come back to this a lot of times. They're wandering around in the wilderness, and the Bible says in the 17th verse, when Pharaoh let the people go, God didn't lead them on the road through the Philistine country, though that was shorter. For God said if they face war, they may change their mind and return to Egypt. So God led them around the desert toward the Red Sea. So God knows everything. He knows the what, he knows the when, he knows what we need, even though we don't. So whatever change we're going through, we have to fall back and trust that God knows. He took them to the Red Sea's edge where they were at their greatest fear and then did one of his biggest miracles. And that's what he can do in our lives.
Brian, you seem really excited about your move. And is that because you're focusing on the new adventure?
Exactly. I was just thinking about that. It's moving forward and letting go what's all behind us here. This has been great. It's been wonderful. And it's interesting how things are just kind of like fading into the background here. Deb and I were walking the dogs the other night, and we were talking about that. It says, if we're sort of getting detached from everything just naturally, it's just happening because we're looking forward to that new adventure and what the Lord has for us.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it as it's a sense of a new experience for me. It's going to be something new to go to what we're doing here isn't new, but being together is going to be new and doing it because my background's always been on the video side of things, and producing and that, and being on this end of it now and working together with you guys, it's just like a whole new thing and all new media, which I think is so exciting. And I'm looking forward just to diving in full time with that, or I can have my day planned and not be disorganized like I am right now.
Guys, when Beth was dying and she was seeing heaven so clearly, I thought, it's kind of similar to what we go through with change. I mean, she was going through the biggest change of all. And I believe God gave her glimpses of heaven and she was seeing it. And like Brian said, things start to kind of lose their appeal when you're looking forward to the new. And I think we all have that time where we're a little sad, you're leaving friends and family behind, but then when you kind of get into it and you're looking toward the future, but one day we're going to have major change, and that is going to heaven, and we should all be excited for that day.
Mm-hmm.
No question about that. Something that came to my mind was Karen and I only had one daughter. And when she went off to college and we became empty nesters, that was a big change. That was very sad. And Dan, you were just talking about how your family's going to be leaving. But what I chose to focus on was how happy my daughter was, how excited she was. She was meeting all these great friends. She was finding purpose for her life. She was being fulfilled. She was blossoming and maturing as a young lady. And as much as I hated for her to be gone, I tried to shift my perspective to see her just blossoming in life and realize, hey, we didn't do that bad a job. And that was a little bit easier to take, I guess. Like you say, focusing forward on the new adventure.
And there's a sense of letting go. Sometimes we can hang on too tightly, even to our family and possessions.
You're right.
And it's funny because the three of us at our age, we're all kind of downsizing. We're letting go of a lot of possessions that we've just been kind of hanging around and not really using for a long time.
It's true because this, like you said, the possessions that we hang on to, it's just boxes. It's boxes of things. I was going through some stuff the other day in the garage, and I found a box that I've actually moved out here from Atlanta that I hadn't opened yet. And it's like
in how many years?
It's 16. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this. It's still here. And you never used it. It's just been sitting there and it's free.
Was that your size 32 pants?
Oh yeah. and they were bell bottoms and I had the French cuff shirts in there. Yeah, that's it.
Probably a few gold chains thrown.
Yeah, and I found some combs and brushes.
Yeah, we don't need those anymore.
And that old tube of Brill cream? No, that was back further.
There
No,
you
that's
go.
Platform shoes, maybe.
with the goldfish in the heels.
Yeah. So what are you going to do with that box full of stuff?
Oh, I gave it to Salvation Army. They can use it.
There you go. There you go.
All of a sudden, there's a lot of people dressing like the 70s again.
That's right.
Well, Max Lucado wrote a book that I read quite a while ago, but it's always stuck with me. It's called Traveling Light, and it's based on the 23rd Psalm and how, when you really look at what you really need, it's the Lord, it's your faith, it's your family, it's your friends. Possessions, boy, they just kind of accumulate, and they accumulate dust. So sometimes change is good because you do a bit of a clearing out process and a cleaning out.
Mm-hmm.
That is so true. And Karen and I didn't realize how little some of that meant to us till it came time to consolidate 30 years down to just a small portion. And the things that we went through that we hung on to, like you say, Dan, hung on so tightly, we realized, you know what, this doesn't mean much to us. We're not going to use it or look at it again, more than likely. But at the time you got it, or when it came time to decide whether to keep or throw, we always kept it year after year. So you're right. You're right.
I'm going to ask our producer, John Matarazzo. John, what makes you sad about this move and what makes you excited? And I know we're getting near the end of the program. Sorry, Brian.
What makes me sad is, I'm very close with my family. My dad is actually one of my best friends, and so I'm grateful that he's able to take the time off of work to drive down with me, and he's going to fly back after a few days. But the things that we've cherished, Saturday mornings, he and I always have coffee together and talk about the news and talk about the things of life and just talk about things of the Lord. And we'll do that the best that we can from a distance. Thank God for technology. I mean, right now, we're in four different areas of the country, and so we're able to do stuff. So technology is a great way to stay connected. But there's that in-person thing that I'm going to cherish those moments a lot more whenever I do have them in the future, and I'm cherishing them now before I move.
Good for you.
I'm excited about the opportunities that I have starting. The opportunity to start a new job, a new career path. It's still within media. It's still, developing a lot of the stuff that I love doing. Podcasting is going to be a big part of that. But for the first time in my life, I'm going to actually visit other churches with the intention of trying to find a place that I'm going to fit in and trying to find a church family. Those are things that are very important to me. And there's just the new opportunities. And I'm already thinking, what's a habit or something that I can do to kind of reinvent myself in this next stage of life, too. So those are just some of the things that I'm looking forward to as well.
Good thoughts. Brian, I interrupted you earlier.
It's okay. I don't remember what I was going to say.
Oh,
It was just commenting on Terry. That's all.
Yeah. We are at that age, aren't we, guys? Well, we always end with a segment we kind of call finishing strong through or finishing strong by. And today I think would be finishing strong by embracing life's changes. All my life I've struggled. I haven't liked change, and yet I've had so much of it. But now I've been settled out here in Pennsylvania for over 30 years. So I think the longer you're in one place, the tougher it is to change. And maybe you're listening and you're going through a divorce or financial challenges. COVID has caused so much change. You're looking at some of the things that are going on in America and you're saying, man, I'm scared. What's our message to those people, Terry, that are saying, I'm fearful of change?
I think it comes back to what we said at the top of this podcast. There has to be that trust and faith in God. There has to be the belief in his word, just as we use many of these scriptures to try to bring encouragement, set that foundation, and then be open to believe it and be able to just change that perspective and look to the future.
Sure. Brian, your final thoughts on this?
I think we just have to remember Hebrews 13:8, that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And whatever changes we're going through, it's not new to him. and we just got to lean and trust in him.
Boy, that's the verse I was going to say, but it's so true. You know, Jesus Christ has not changed. His love for you hasn't changed. He loves you, he cares for you, and he still wants the best in life for you. And I come back to the verse, Jeremiah 29:11. I know the plans I have for you. He's got a plan for your life, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. So let's keep that in mind. And we are so appreciative of you listening in to Finish Strong with Fearless Faith and talking about handling life's changes. And John, we're still looking for those reviews, aren't we?
Absolutely. We love getting reviews, and I'm going to read one right now that we just got that says, I just listened to your message about the resurrection. Thank you for the reminder that Jesus died for you and me. I appreciate the verses you shared, and we'll study more of them this week. You are such a gift to us, and we want you to know that you are a gift to us as well. We love getting those reviews, and if you write that review and we see it, we'll make sure to share that too. So as you review, you help people find Finish Strong to help them along their way too.
Well, thanks, John. Thanks, Brian and Terry. And we hope you'll tune in to our next episode of Finish Strong. And remember, even though life may throw you changes, you have a God who is with you, who loves you, and he never changes. God bless, and I hope you'll join us next time.
Thank you for listening to Finish Strong. For more information about Finish Strong and Fearless Faith, check out their website, ffaith.org. Make sure that you rate and review this podcast to help more people accomplish their God-given purpose so that together we can finish strong.